Is it possible to be both America first and support Israel? Or does supporting the goals of a foreign nation mean abandoning the goals of your own country? I have been asked this question so many times on social media because I am both very pro-America and also pro-Israel. So I wanted to talk about this because I think that the answer for me is actually pretty obvious. It is totally okay as an American to support a foreign nation when their actions and goals are in the best interest of America. Like if we are allies in war or in trade. And this makes sense. I don't think that any sane person would argue with me that if a country is helping us, we should support them in helping us. And if a country is attacking us or threatening us or getting in the way of a goal that we're trying to achieve that's going to better the country, we should not support them. But I guess with Israel, how they are helping us doesn't seem obvious to a lot of people. And I think this is because when we talk about why we support Israel, a lot of people talk about October 7th. And don't get me wrong, October 7th is definitely a reason why we should be in support of Israel right now. Subhumans from Gaza broke through Israeli defenses, killed over 1,000 people, and took hundreds more hostage. Unless you are a raging anti-Semite or a sheep who repeats everything that you hear on TikTok without engaging your brain at all, you would know that Israel has the right to defend itself, destroy Hamas, and make sure that October 7th never happens again. Morally supporting them and denouncing terrorism is just like the moral and sane thing to do in this situation. Okay, but what does all of this have to do with the US? Why are we involved? Why are we helping Israel? Why should we even care about what's happening on the other side of the world right now? We have our own problems in this country. Isn't worrying about a foreign nation distracting from the problems that we have here? Israel hasn't just been attacked by Hamas in Gaza. Israel is the target of almost every country in the Middle East right now. They have been attacked by the Houthis in Yemen, who have sent drones to bomb Tel Aviv and have been attacking Israeli ships in the Red Sea. Hezbollah has been firing hundreds of rockets from Lebanon since October 7th. Islamic Jihad has been aiding Hamas in shooting rockets from Gaza, and there have been multiple terror attacks coming from terrorists in the West Bank. And all of these attacks are being funded by the Iranian regime, who is also launching rockets at Israel right now. A lot of people will say that all of this is happening just because Israel is defending themselves from Hamas, and so Gaza is being destroyed, and a lot of these countries are really angry. But this is not the first time that these countries have attacked Israel. They have been attacking Israel since 1948. Since Israel was founded, a lot of these countries in the Middle East have been attacking Israel and starting wars, vowing to destroy the country and kill all of the Jews who live there. Now, a lot of people, once they understand this, once they've done their research, once they understand their history, they go, okay, well, this isn't just about October 7th. There's something greater going on here. But a lot of them still will kind of dismiss it as, oh, this is just a religious war between Jews and Muslims and doesn't have anything to do with anyone in the US, or I guess anyone in the US who isn't a Jew or a Muslim. So a lot of people will ask me, like, you're an atheist, you're an American, why do you care what's going on in Israel on the other side of the world when it seems to have nothing to do with you? And what these people either don't know or are just ignoring is that despite the fact that Jews are an ethnic and religious minority in the US, all of these countries that hate Israel also hate the US. Recently, a new president of Iran was sworn into office after the last one died in a helicopter crash, which, let me just say, was a very deserving fate given how he has oppressed the Iranian people for years. During this ceremony, where the leaders of Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, the Houthis were all attending because they're all BFFs, there were also very loud chants of death to Israel and death to America. Now, death to America is a very common slogan that has been used by authoritarian regimes for decades. It's commonly used in dictatorships like North Korea, for example, but it is also very commonly used by Islamic terrorist groups like the Houthis, whose official slogan is Allah is great, death to America, death to Israel, curse on the Jews, victory to Islam, which is just quite the terrible and awful and horrible slogan, but that's what it is. Death to America was also commonly used by communists both before and during the Islamic Revolution in Iran. These countries that are attacking Israel in the Middle East, as well as the non-Islamic, non-Middle Eastern countries that are supporting Hamas, like North Korea, China, and Russia, they all hate Israel. They also all hate America. Now, why is that? Well, this conflict is more than just a hatred of Jews. These authoritarian regimes, they all hate Israel for the same reasons that they hate America. They just hate the West generally. They hate the culture and the liberty of Western countries like America and Israel because our success and our prosperity is a threat to their dictatorships. You can't have a prosperous society when you are killing your citizens for speaking their mind, putting them in jail for wearing the wrong clothing or loving the wrong person, or punishing them for being successful and flourishing. These authoritarian governments want the power to control other people's lives. And when they stop people from doing what's best for themselves, everybody ends up suffering. And when you look at the results, just the differences between liberal governments in Western countries versus these authoritarian regimes, it becomes very obvious which governments and which cultures are better for just the betterment of human life. And this is why authoritarians want to destroy us. They want to destroy all of us who are advocating for a positive change towards a more liberal world. We in the West are a threat to their power and their ideologies, whether it's socialism, communism, fascism, some religious theocracy, or whatever reason that they have convinced themselves they should have control over other people's lives. America and Israel has benefited so much from liberalism, and we need to fight together against countries that are trying to take that away from us. So why are there Americans who are against Israel? Sure, there are some useful idiots who have not done their research and think that Israel is some theocratic ethno-state because they've heard it once on TikTok. But there are also Americans who are very informed about what's going on in Israel, and yet they still want to side with terrorists instead of with another liberal Western nation. And this is because, honestly, there are some Americans who hate America, and that's why they hate Israel. To see this, we can start by looking at our colleges that have been overrun with wannabe barbarians. Let's just take Columbia University for one example, where on October 7th, professors and students very publicly stated that they stood with Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, all terrorist organizations that have said that they want to destroy America. And more recently, Columbia's Students for Justice Palestine organization publicly stated on social media that they are not just siding with Hamas, they are fighting for the total destruction of Western civilization. For another example, a few months ago, Osama bin Laden's letter to America, where he detailed why he attacked on 9/11 and why he wants to destroy American culture, went viral on TikTok, and a lot of young people began sympathizing with him, and even some went as far as celebrating his actions. We've seen protests in the streets where people are waving flags of Taliban, ISIS, Hamas, and are chanting to globalize the Intifada, which means that they want what happened on October 7th to happen to the rest of the world, but especially to Western countries. A few weeks ago, when Netanyahu was visiting the country to speak to Congress, there were riots outside of the Capitol where people were vandalizing Death to America on a replica of the Liberty Bell and burning the American flag. I've talked a lot on this channel about how woke leftists believe a lot of this crazy stuff because of their blind adherence to a false morality based on this oppressor-oppressed hierarchy that directly goes against Western values like individualism and liberty. But here's the thing with them. They are explicitly anti-American. Like, they don't even try to hide it. However, there are a lot of conservatives who claim to be America first who agree with these woke leftists on a lot of these crazy things. Candace Owens has been at the forefront of spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that the Jews run the world and are responsible for everything bad that has ever happened in history and stupid nonsense like that. She's also been trying to turn her audience against Israel by telling lies about Israeli culture and policies, like saying that they're committing apartheid and genocide in Gaza. Tucker Carlson has tried to turn his audience against Israel by lying to them and saying that Christians are oppressed in Israel despite there being religious freedom there. He's also lying that in this war they are targeting Christians in Gaza, even though there is absolutely no evidence for that and tons of evidence to support that they are only targeting Hamas as a response for October 7th. Nick Fuentes has accused Israel of targeting civilians with no evidence, has accused Israel of being behind the Trump assassination attempt with no evidence, and is just generally trying to convince his followers that supporting Hamas is the America First position, which he pulled out of his ass. Why would these people side with the same people who are burning the American flag and chanting death to America? Why would people who claim to be America First be trying to convince their audiences that America's ally in trying to preserve Western civilization is actually our enemy? The answer is actually very simple. None of these people actually support American values. Candace Owens has been very open about wanting to end the separation between church and state by, well, for example, putting Christianity in government schools. And while she claims to be in support of things like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, she has advocated for things that infringe on individual rights, like advocating for the criminalization of drug and alcohol use. And again, we have to mention her rampant anti-Semitism and spreading of conspiracy theories that might fly at Nazi Germany, but is not going to be tolerated, or at least should not be tolerated, in an individualist culture like America. Nick Fuentes also wants to end the separation between church and state and wants an explicitly Christian government. He has also been very anti-immigration, and no, before someone puts it in the comments, not anti-illegal immigration, anti-all immigration, especially immigration from countries where they are not majority white. And this just goes against the fact that America was founded by immigrants. It was founded by people who wanted to merge a bunch of cultures together in a melting pot and create a place where everybody could be free. And Tucker Carlson has been a propaganda mouthpiece for America's enemies like Russia. He has defended Vladimir Putin for killing political opponents by saying, well, duh, every leader kills people, and has lied about the standard of living in Russia by claiming it's better than the US and that the US should adopt their authoritarian policies. Now, I'm using these three as examples just because of how influential they are, but I want to make it clear that they are not the only ones who believe these things, right? There is a whole movement of people who are claiming to be America first, that they want to make America great again, that they want to conserve American values, when really what they are out to destroy are the things that make America great in the first place. And they all hate Israel because they hate America. They are no different than the blue-haired woke DEI students running around college campuses tearing down American flags and supporting America's enemies, because they all hate Western civilization, which is what America and Israel represent. Recently, I've come to the conclusion that I think the term conservative is being misused as much as the words liberal and progressive. True conservatives, people who want to actually preserve what is great about America, are liberals. I mean, I guess classical liberals, but true liberals. They want to preserve the liberties that we have and make progress towards making the country even more liberal. They don't want to undo what we have accomplished and be more like these authoritarian governments that have just suppressed human flourishing. So I'm not going to call these America Last authoritarians conservatives, just like I'm not going to call woke socialists liberal or progressive. I'm going to call them what they actually are: regressive, authoritarian leftists who want to destroy what America is. And it's funny because even though so many people are adamant that these two groups are totally different, some of them are starting to see the similarities between their goals. A few months ago, Nick Fuentes actually tweeted that he has more in common with AOC than he does with 99% of Republicans. And unfortunately, they've been pretty successful at these goals, both the regressive woke mindset and the America Last nationalist mindset have been able to gaslight so many people into believing that America is its own enemy, that the things that have made America such an amazing place are the things that we need to get rid of. One movement is saying that they want to fight for human rights and a more tolerant society, but what they're actually fighting for is bigotry and legal discrimination based on race, sex, sexual orientation, and income. The other movement is claiming that they want to preserve the ideas of the founders, when really what they're trying to do is undo the Constitution. And so many people are falling for these lies because our political culture right now is so tribal that all someone has to say is a few trigger words like equality and America first, and people will just blindly follow whatever they say, even if what they are saying and what they're advocating for is not actually in anyone's best interest. So what do we do? First, we need to break out of this party tribalist nonsense and remember that it is not red versus blue, but authoritarianism versus freedom. Don't let people gaslight you by claiming to be America first, but turning on America's allies and culture. If we really want what's best for America in the future, if we really want to make America great, we need to start by recognizing what is great about America now. Then, we need to stand by countries that are fighting the same fight that we are, like Israel. And this doesn't mean that we don't criticize Israel or even ourselves. It means that we encourage them and ourselves to be better, especially when we don't live up to our own ideals. Because our enemies, both domestic and abroad, have made it clear that they are coming for us, all of us. And if we can't win the battle of ideas, of culture, for freedom, then we are going to end up oppressed and miserable like the people in these other authoritarian countries. So we should all do our part to the best of our ability to uphold these values, to be individualists, to be rational thinkers, to advocate for liberties so that we can continue to make America great and greater in the future. Thank you for watching. If you like my content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.